Good morning, gorgeous. Good morning, gorgeous. Don't forget to smile. As you look radiant as you are the queen of your Nile. Wake up, beautiful. It's time to spread your wings. Open up your window and hear the songbirds as they sing.
Welcome to Good Morning Gorgeous, your Saturday morning dose of inspiration. I am Sharonda Steele, and
I am yours truly, Larissa Williams.
And today we have a incredible guest with us. I think I said it a lot, but it really is true. The beautiful Bridgette Wingate is here. We had an opportunity to meet a few years ago. And I'll say this little extra piece really, really quickly. So a few years ago, I decided to go natural. And I struggled with transitioning from relaxer to natural. My hair would mat up really bad. And I would be crying. I was in tears. And I remember posting on Facebook once saying, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I literally was in tears. I didn't know what else to do. And she was like, go back to the basics, wash, comb it out, braid it, just like your grandmother used to do. And I just started doing just that little technique. I just wash, I would comb it out and just make those little plaits, like little French, little single braids, just like I remember my grandma Mandy used to do. And I kid you not, it helped me get through my transition phase. I posted a picture a few weeks ago of how long my hair has grown from just keeping it braided. Like all I do now is keep it braided. But so I like to share that with a lot of people. Like I was just so frustrated, but I remember you was like, go back to the basics. So anytime I'm talking to people, I go back to the basics. Like sometimes we forget the basics, right? We go back to the roots because it always worked. But we have Bridgette Wingate with us today, who works with Central Bank. And I reached out to you a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, look, I'm trying to do something, looking to purchasing a home. And for me, really wanted to talk to someone in that area that I knew that I would be able to trust, that I knew would look out, and I knew I wouldn't have to worry about what happens with me and my finances, and is this a loan that I can trust, and what do I need to do? So I called you. Like I knew I would be able to trust you and that you would make sure I'm together. So I'm excited to have you on here today so we can have this conversation. And I'm just grateful for you to be here on the podcast today. So welcome, Bridgette.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm happy for you to be here. And before we got started today, you all are already in full conversation mode. So I'm excited about where this is gonna go. But I will say this because we've been talking to a lot of people. And today, Larissa, you walked in with this shirt that I want people to see, because a lot of stuff that we talk about with our podcast and the guests that we've had on, I do think that it all go back to one central idea. And she's wearing that idea on her shirt right now that she created today. Show us your shirt. Show us your shirt.
All right.
Love yourself first. I love that shirt with the heart. I love it. And you made that
this morning. I got up and made it I got up and put it on the sweatshirt this morning.
Well, I'm placing my order now.
Yeah, I switched the design up a little bit. There's two versions to this shirt. I came up with this design and put the heart as the O in love. And then it says love yourself first. And there's a heart outlined around those words. So there's two versions. Aww. This version, and then there's another version to the shirt.
I love it. I don't think I had seen those shirts yet.
No.
You hadn't made them public yet.
No. Well, I've had some of the other version on, people have asked to put the other version on their maxi dresses that because I sell maxi dresses. So I have put that on some of the maxi dresses. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, I wanted to shout out that shirt too, because I mean, a lot of what we talk about, I think that is like a central theme of what's happening here. We've brought on a lot of incredible women, and they've all been sharing like different career paths and experiences. And I do think it all goes back to that central idea of, One, understanding we're human, we're people, loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves. And in turn, we can do more for others. So,
Yeah.
so Bridgette, I'm so glad that you're here because we met a few years ago and we instantly we were able to connect and share on many levels. And I'm glad that you're able to join the podcast today and talk to us. But for all of our listeners and our viewers, why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, so my name is Bridgette Wingate, and I am a native of New Jersey. I came to Lexington, Kentucky in 1996. I was there for, yes, approximately 20-something years, and then 4 years ago, I relocated to Louisville, Kentucky. So that's currently where I reside, and I am employed by Central Bank. I do have two beautiful daughters, a 32-year-old and a 23-year-old. And I have a beautiful grandson who is 10 years old. So that's the basics. I do enjoy my career. Currently I'm a community development officer, which is still a loan officer, but I focus on affordable housing lending and community relationships. So between the bank and the community that we live in and that we serve.
And was that a different role from when you were in Lexington?
Yeah, so initially, when I came to Louisville, they asked me to be their secondary market loan officer, which is a loan officer who basically can service all loans. I can handle anybody from a 800 credit score to a 620, but the new role focuses on individuals who are struggling in those traditional lending criteria areas. And so I can do a 600. And then there's some special income guidelines that put you in a situation where you won't get any mortgage insurance if you don't have a full 20% to put down. So there's just some unique underwriting guidelines to help those people who can't fit in the traditional guidelines get their first home or their second home or whatever the case might be.
So, Miss Bridgette, what prompted you to go into the mortgage banking industry?
So I would not say I was prompted or it was a strategic move at the time. I come from humble beginnings, went to college and had to leave in order to have my first daughter. So I did not complete my education at the college that I was attending. And so at the time I was in New Jersey and I decided to move to Kentucky to better my life for me and my daughter. And just so happened that my journey with a phone book on my car seat and attempting to go interview at all these different temp agencies once I got here in Lexington. Landed me at a temp agency that actually placed people in banking institutions. And so they asked me to interview. I got the job just as a teller initially, had never been in banking before. Moved back to Kentucky within a 2 to 3 week period after I got the job. And my career in banking started there. And then the opportunity for lending followed.
So how long have you been in the mortgage? You've been in it quite a while. I mean, you said because your first daughter. So how many years have you been in this industry?
This will be the 28th or 29th year. Yeah, she was 3 years old when I moved to Kentucky, and I moved to Kentucky to take my first banking job. So yeah, so it's been that long. And again, I started out as a teller, but the unique and I can't say that it wasn't my focus, but it was God given purpose is why I'm in the banking industry. Because sometimes you're seeking and you're praying and you're asking God, where do I go from here? As a single parent, I had no idea, I had to start all over again. And strategically, he placed me in banking with me not understanding that my passion to help others and come out of poverty, especially from a project situation, and always wanting to own a home and not understanding how that would ever be possible, he strategically put me in the bank. And from there, just, I mean, it almost spiraled out of control. I was there 3 months under the temp service, and you're not supposed to be able to be hired for a position within the bank under temp service because they have to buy out the contract.
Yeah.
Right. And so when the job for the mortgage department came up, I didn't think initially to apply because I wasn't an employee of the bank yet. And so, but my supervisor looked at me and she said, listen, you got it. You need to go and you need to do it. And I said, well, how do I do it? And she said, you don't know this, but they can buy your contract out if they think that you're worthy of the position. And I thought, wow.
All right.
Yeah. So I went back and I put my suit on like I didn't work there. I updated my resume with the new position as my target and my old position as my pass.
All right. Oh, I love that.
That's good.
Yeah. And lo and behold, I say this with no pride. When I went into the interview, there were 3 other young ladies who had been at the bank for over 3 years, 3 to 5 years. I mean, some of them had been there for 7 years, but at least 3 to 5 years they had been there. And the head of that department, when he gave me the job, he gave it to me in front of all of them. And he said, the reason why I'm giving this job to Bridgette is because some of you have been here and this position has come available several times, but she's not been here 3 months and she had the initiative to come and apply for this position. And so I'm going to give it to her. And that started my journey to now I'm an officer at a bank,
right.
So, yeah, so that started the journey to homeownership, for me being in a position to create the opportunity for homeownership.
Man, that's an incredible story. I don't think I ever knew all that. That was good.
But I got a nugget out of that. So this is one thing, Bridgette, when we are having these conversations with you and all the remarkable women that have been on the podcast and those that will come after you, I always, and I know Sharona does too, you guys, you drop so many nuggets. So I've already got a nugget and I've written it down. And I'm going to do something with these nuggets, okay? I'm going to collaborate these nuggets somehow because I'm also a poet. I love to write poetry also. So there's going to, and that just popped in my head. But when you walked into that office, you walked in with that old position as your pass and the new position as your target. I love that.
I love that. I was getting ready to say the same thing about that.
Oh, I love that. That's powerful.
Wow, yeah. Thank you.
That was good.
Powerful.
That was,
yes.
Yeah. That was my mindset. Coming from New Jersey, it was you had a lot of ambition, but there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity. So when I can be stagnant. So I thought this is the opportunity for me and my daughter to, grow and to accomplish things. And if I sit back and be willy-nilly, then, I could have stayed where I was,
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, I thank God for always having a spark inside of me that wouldn't let me be content. I could just never be content. Mm-hmm. When I was in the welfare environment, I couldn't get content with the monthly check or the food stamps or the stipend they give you for the child support. It just never, was enough for me. And then as I proceeded through my career and even to today, that spark never dies. And it's allowed me without a full college education to be able to grow to a level that there are people that are my peers that have master's and doctor's degree that I sit at a boardroom table with. And God, like they say, he can write your resume, and elevate you to a place that your credentials, they don't need to be established. He established your credentials.
So good.
I'm grateful.
That's
I'm just
good.
Grateful.
We're talking about the home loans, I know for specifically like the Black community, there has always been a challenge or the stigma behind, you cannot own property or it'd be too tough for you to own property. for those that are interested, but they just don't know where to start or think that it may not even be a possibility for them, what would you suggest be kind of way for them to get started with trying to figure out the process of owning a home?
So my mantra is, if you don't start somewhere, you won't get anywhere, right? So there, it's a fallacy. Everybody can own a home, right? It's not for everybody because some people just don't want the responsibility of it, or they don't. But for our culture specifically, if we don't start to acquire property, the resolve of not having any financial generational wealth or creating legacy will not exist, because this nation is built on the equity and the trades of stocks and things that are based by mortgage-backed securities. And land is the most secure investment that we have. So I would say you just start where you are. I do, or I have done a segment of classes that's called Mondays, and so they're like a six series sessions, and they start from all the way from budgeting 101 to credit reporting or credit evaluation. We go through all the stages of savings, and then homeownership 101, and then legacy planning, right? So and so you start wherever you are. You get your credit pulled, and then you look at it. Some people think, oh man, my credit's horrible, I can never own a home. And maybe it is horrible, but the only way you're going to own a home is if we pull it and take a look at it. It's like anything else. When a baby's born, they're born. If they don't start trying to crawl, or they don't try to walk, they're just going to sit there, right? So there's no shame in it. And a lot of times I think the other fallacy is that we look at one another in the polished state, and we don't know what it took for us to get here, right?
Yes.
We just think, oh, I want to be Sandra in an instant. Nobody has. There was a point where my credit score, was below 600, but you would never know that because I've owned 6 properties. You know what I mean? But I had to start somewhere, and so I just want to say to our people, like Sharonda said, find somebody you trust. Find somebody that looks like you, or maybe not. I mean, I've had people help me they don't look like me, but we have kindred spirits, but find somebody that you trust, that you can say, hey, here's where I'm at. Can you help me? And if they can't, maybe they can, which is what I do. I never say no. I say, let me see where I can connect you next, right? So even in my business, if I don't have the product that can help you, I don't mind referring you to somebody who can. Right. And that's what we have to do as a community. We have to stop shutting each other down and finding ways to help one another so that we can rise together.
Yeah, so good.
So good. Because for me, so like right now, I chose because, and I don't mind sharing my story. Now being a single mom, was married for 16 years. And we built 2 houses when I was married, and then after building those 2 houses and going through a divorce, moved to an apartment. Then I'm like, okay, I don't want to be in this apartment forever. And then, my credit I had to start over because, going through that, it was like, oh, my credit is not as good. So I had to go through the process all over again. And I was so happy, and it was just totally a blessing that I received from God, that I was able to finally on my own buy another home. So, and then so I've owned 3 homes, and then, and then I got sick, and then struggle, situations come up that we don't have, it happens. And I end up selling that home in 2019. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to rent for a while. So I can rebuild again. And but I have not allowed myself to stay down, based on my situations. I'm like, I'm not going to stay down. I will. It's okay to start over.
Yes.
You know, if
It
I would
is.
have
Right.
stayed in that house, I would have constantly dug myself deeper,
Yeah.
you know, and I had to, like, you know, and I prayed about it. My sister was like, well, why are you selling your house? And I'm like, but you see, you don't know what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with. I have to do this for me,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
and I thank God I have a wonderful, I've been blessed with an awesome landlord, and I've been here, it'll be 3 years now, but am I going to stay here forever? Because I want to own a home again. So, you know, and it's
Well,
okay. It's okay to
and
start over.
and that's what I was going to say. It is okay. Like as a good loan officer or as a good person that somebody comes to you and trusts in the financial industry, we can't generalize, you know, that what's good for you is good for me and what's good for her is good for him, right? So you're totally right. Sometimes I sit down with a person and I look at their budget and I look at their situation, and it's not for them to own yet, because you know, owning a home is a big responsibility.
Yes.
So your furnace goes out and you have no way of replacing it. And so now you're stuck in a situation where you're foreclosing on that home because you can't even take care of the regular repairs that go along with it. So you have to evaluate your whole situation before you jump into something that, you know, is a big responsibility like that. So that's why I pride myself on educating every individual that comes to me with all the facts, and not just try to sell them something, not just try to put them in something, right? Just because, and sometimes you're in a great position, but if you're a traveler and you don't want the responsibility of a home, right? Because of all that goes along with it, you may not buy. Right, you may, because you may, you know, your Airbnb and some of these millennials or X's or G's or whatever they are, right? They're moving and shaking. They don't want to have the responsibility of. So you have to really look at people on an individual basis. And I definitely know where you're coming from about starting all over, because I had 3 properties. God had blessed me with learning a business, and I was like, wow, you know, I was just overwhelmed with the fact that I could do this. I got my credit together. I had rental property, had all this stuff. And like you said, I went through a time, and again, I don't mind to share my story either, but I was very depressed at one time. I got really depressed trying to balance all that stuff and be a single parent. And I ended up selling all my properties as well, you know, and I was like, wow, did God give me all of this for me to, like, you know, have to sell it? But he was like, you know what, there's seasons in life, there's stages in life, you grow, you learn, you know, it's not a cookie cutter life that we live. And so just as he watched me go through that and nurtured me and groomed me through that, he was building my spirituality and not letting me get connected to material things. You know, sometimes we start acquiring things and we forget they're material things. They don't sustain you, you know? So I get it, you know, totally. Sometimes we have to step back. Right now, I'm in a condo, which is very much an apartment, right? But I said, you know, so that I could own again and start creating equity, I'm going to buy a condo so it's less maintenance. You know, you get the warranty on the condo, so that, of course, if something goes wrong, I don't have the big not utility, but repair bills, you know. And so I started back gradually that way. I had an opportunity just last month to buy a $400,000 house that I could buy, right? But I thought, now is that wise? Right? Why triple or double or whatever a mortgage payment when I could live comfortably as I am, create equity here, and then pass this on, and maybe later on do that and start blessing somebody else because I'm in overflow now, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we put ourselves back in the position that God pulled us out of. You know, like, I pulled you out of that living, you know, paycheck to paycheck. You're gonna go back and put yourself in that position again, and then what, you gonna want me to pray? You want to pray yourself out of it? We have to be wise, right? So yes, I totally understand, you know, that we have to do what's for us, and we have, as individuals that's helping other people or counseling them, or you know, we have to listen to what they need and not what our agenda is, you know. But yeah, so congratulations on being, you know, discerning, right?
Yes,
And
thank you.
knowing what's best for you, you know.
Well, I love hearing the two of you talk because I am in my start over phase right now. And like you, I had two homes, second one built from ground up, the way we wanted it, beautiful home. And, you know, separation from marriage, sold home, moved away. And, you know, kind of I'm doing that rebuilding piece right now. And I have to say, the level of peace that I have right now means more than anything that I could have ever imagined. But with that, you know, I still want to own my home, you know, own a home again. So, and that was why I reached back out to you, like, okay, in a couple of years, I am thinking about heading in this direction. For me and for, you know, for my children, of course, that are not as young anymore. But I want them to be able to see that I was able to still have a home even without being married. Because it is, you know, whether you have a spouse or not, it is possible. You can do it if you want to, and if it works for you and for your situation. So, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to feel like they have to take a back seat for something they really want because their, you know, situation has changed or shifted. Sometimes a shift is important. And it's designed to get you to another level, and that's why they call it a shift, right? So, you know, just to encourage anyone else out there that may be experiencing some changes, whether it's with relationship, career, whatever it is, that, you know, you can still get to that point of owning a home if that's what you choose. So, yeah, I'm loving it.
Our last final question that we have for you, Miss Bridgette, is we would like to ask you, from your experience in the mortgage industry, and think about where we are in the midst of still in this pandemic and dealing with COVID, and them talking about the mortgage rates going to go up again. What would you like to share with our viewers and listeners regarding that right now?
So I don't know if we discussed it before we got on or during this podcast, but so I've been in the business now since '96. And when I first started in the business, the rates, I believe, were maybe as high as maybe 10, 9, I think maybe about in that range. And so people were still buying houses, right? And so if I talk to my grandmother back in the day, like when it was 22, right? That was unheard of, right?
Wow.
But still was able to allow fear to stop us from doing anything that we want to achieve. And although the rates are fluctuating right now, the only way we'll ever see a 2.5% rate or a 2% rate or a 3% rate again is if we have to go through something like the pandemic again. And I tell all of my borrowers, do we want that? Right. Do we want to see debt and devastation and death in order for us to get, you know, that was not a ideal situation, although it profited us at the time. Rates going back up between 5, 6, 7, 8% is not a bad rate. It really isn't. Right. And so things are going to level off like they always do. Babies will continue to be born. People will graduate college. We will get married and want to get a house. Homeownership is still a possibility. The difference in rate is a couple $100 in spectrum, right? You know, so it's not something that is so horrible and so, you know, so egregious that we can't continue to move forward with homeownership. I tell everybody now, we look at everything on a case-by-case basis, right? So when you come to me, if you can afford the rate, if you can afford the closing costs, if it's going to put you in an ideal situation, if it's going to be able to enhance your lifestyle and your family, we're going to buy the house, right? And we don't care what the rate is because the ratios are the same. You know, in the scheme of things, if you qualify, you qualify. If you make enough money to purchase the house, if you're in a great situation to purchase the house, there's nothing to fear. You should go ahead and purchase the house. If you need to wait a little while and look at the rates, you know, which is one of the reasons why I didn't move forward with the house that I told you guys about. Rates had went up, you know, a little bit since I was contemplating the contract. And I just thought to myself, I was like, you know, maybe I should wait a little while because I'm not in a rush. I don't have to purchase right now, you know, but there are some families that are growing, they're having babies, they're relocating. You shouldn't be fearful because the rates have gone up a little bit, you know. You can always refinance. They're going to go back down and level off a little bit. They're not going back. I mean, I'm not, you know, an expert in rate prediction, but I don't believe they're going back to 3%, right? So when they do level off, you know, within 3 to 5 years, they level off, you just go refinance and you're back in the situation you wanted to be in the first place. So I would say to those people, get you a sound advisor in the mortgage business. Let them critique your situation, and then move accordingly. But don't be fearful.
That's good stuff. And if anyone wanted to reach out to you in regards to home loan, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Okay, so if you would like to reach me at the office, my current branch that I work at is in Louisville, but the phone number there is 502-420-1319, and then my email address is bwingate@centralbank.com. So either way, and then you can call the general number if you like, and they will patch you to my desk or to my office. And again, if you have questions in general, you're not sure where to start, feel free to call me. If I can help you, I'll help you. If I can't, I'll refer you to somebody who can. And again, it's my passion to do this, not just my employment. So I don't mind to try to help and try to, you know, even if it's something with credit or budgeting. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've done some classes. So if you're needing some personal guidance in those areas as well, I'll do my best to help you also.
Good stuff. Well, I know that I'm looking forward to owning a home again, actually a couple. My goal is to build a little she shed community. So I'm looking forward to where the years ahead take us. Thank you so much for coming on again. You know, this is an important topic, and I'm glad that we were able to start slowly having those conversations, much like many others, because people are talking about it. So I'm glad they'll be able to have this podcast as a way to refer back to receiving information on the idea. Even if you're thinking of home ownership, this would be a great way to start. So thanks again for coming. We're so blessed to be able to have you here today. And as we get ready to close out, as we like to say here, find yourself,
believe in yourself,
and love
yourself.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.